Studio Solidaritet. Efter lite tekniska problem så är vi nu förhoppningsvis redo att köra igång. Idag så ska vi prata om det mycket allvarliga läget i Hongkong. Och vi har också med oss en gäst direkt ifrån Hongkong och samtalet kommer därför att hållas på engelska. Men ni får gärna ställa frågor i chatten och de kan ni skriva både på svenska och engelska, så ska vi mot slutet av samtalet också återkomma till era frågor. Men låt mig börja med att introducera våra gäster. Let me start with introducing our guests for today. So we have Lee Cheuk-yan, the Secretary General of the Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions, as well as the Deputy Chair of the Social Democratic Party of Hong Kong, and Eva Guovelin, Chair of the Food Workers Trade Union here in Sweden, in short, normally called LIX. So I'm so happy to have you both with us here today to discuss the developments recently in Hong Kong and how we can also show international support for the democratic movement of Hong Kong. So let me start by turning to you, Jan. Welcome to Studio Solidaritet. The protests in Hong Kong has now been ongoing for over a year. And we have also previously been quite used to protests erupting now and then in Hong Kong, but this time more persistent than ever before. So could you just briefly tell us, what was it that evoked these last round of demonstrations now ongoing for a year? And what is the recent developments?
Thank you for the invitation. And hi, Eva. Well, I hope I can welcome to you in Hong Kong again, and also Anna. But what happened over the last year actually is it's just actually one anniversary of the very big demonstration that we have. On June 9th, we have a 1 million march on the street, and then on June 2016, we have another one of 2 million. So the whole Hong Kong people come out to oppose the extradition bill, which is to get someone, who Chinese label them as criminal to be sent back to China. But of course, no one in Hong Kong trusts the legal system in China. So it started as an opposition to this extradition bill, and then it evolved onward into opposing the police brutality and violence. So in the beginning, everything is peaceful, but then when there are no response from the government, then things become impatient, and there are confrontation with police. But then the police, answer back by very, very violent method of tear gas, and then baton, beating up people, and blood all over the face, and then shooting you with real gun. Actually, there are real guns that have been shot at the people. And so far, over an ongoing up to today, there are 9,000 arrested already, and 1,000, about 2,000 prosecuted. So there are massive arrests. There are prosecutions, so that they want to suppress. Their answer to our demand for democracy is to suppress the protest movement, and especially the young people who try to go to the front line to confront the police. Many of them are being arrested and now charged with rioting. And so the whole thing had developed into a total, you can say, suppression from the Hong Kong government side. Of course, behind them are the Chinese Communist Party. For me personally, and to give you an example of what it is, I was charged for inciting people to participate in an unauthorized assembly, which is a crime under so-called the Public Order Ordinance, for 4 times already, and charged with 7 charges. So in 4 incidents, I come out to say that people should come out to march. And why that 4 incidents? Because their strategy had changed from the beginning into about August and October, because there's so massive turnout in demonstration. Then they say that we ban all demonstration. So for us who are in the leading the protest, we have to ask ourselves, if the police ban, are we going to sort of withdraw ourselves? No, we still come out and say that we exercise our right to peaceful protest. So I have been protesting several times in these banded gathering, but peaceful. And then now, after half a year, I was now being charged for 4 incidents and 7 charges. So everyone in Hong Kong is now really being who are in the protest movement, in the democracy movement. I think they are trying to revenge on Hong Kong. And to add to that, I think one more point that I can explain more later is that apart from all this arrest and police brutality, now China is so angry and so brutal that they want to, for suppression, that they want to introduce what they call the National Security Law, passed by the National People's Congress in Beijing. So this is a totally big in China thing. No consultation with Hong Kong people, and in lightning speed, and they want to introduce it end of this month. So, the narrowing down of space, suppression is going on, and to further suppress, they are going to introduce a national security law. So that is a sum up of the situation in Hong Kong.
We will come back to a few of the points that you've raised in just a moment, but let me also turn to you, Eva. Your trade union, Livs, has had a long cooperation with the HKCTU, and you've also been quite engaged as the broad Swedish trade union movement in the current situation and also previously. What is it that sort of engages you, and why do you also want to support specifically the democracy movement in Hong Kong?
Hi, Jan and Anna. Yes, we have many years of cooperation with the free trade union movement in Hong Kong. Together with our global union, RUF, we were involved in the formation of HKCTU. And I have been to Hong Kong on several occasions and met Jan and his union friends. I was there last November. We have for many years supported HKCTU's political and trade union education programs. And the basis for our international work is always trade union organizing and the fight for trade union and human rights. It's fundamental to democratic development and should be a high priority also when it affects trade interests. And unlike several other unions, we have made a clear and conscious choice by only cooperating with the free trade union in China, HKCTU. And I think it's naive to think that trade union exchange with the state-controlled ACFTU would make any difference. It doesn't change anything. LO had Congress this week, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Jan, for a very good speech to the Congress. LO's president addressed the situation in Hong Kong and condemned China's repression in her inaugural speech, and the Congress made also a statement. I know that LO has sent 2 harsh letters to China's ambassador in Sweden, one of them together with the other confederations, TCO and SACO. And LO have continuous contacts with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which made sure that Sweden was represented at the trial against Lee Cheuk-yan last Monday. Well, obviously, raising awareness of the situation in Hong Kong is very important.
John, may I then ask you, what does this international solidarity mean? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, I think it's very important for international solidarity for Hong Kong because, in a way, China now is, heightening their suppression on Hong Kong, narrowing our space, and really threatening the whole Hong Kong, the one country, 2 system that they always talk about is now no longer working because with the national security law, which tried to impose on Hong Kong the law on subversion. And then one thing that is very also worrying is apart from subversion and separatism, terrorism, And there's one more clause in the national security law, is that of foreign intervention. And I don't know whether am I talking to you, Anna and Eva, am I, getting foreign intervention in Hong Kong? But international solidarity is something that people, union all over the world together to stand for labor rights, democracy, human rights, and no matter where the country is or the city is, we all stand together. But then to China, this is foreign intervention. So another very worrying aspect is international solidarity, very important for us, because who can really deter China from suppressing Hong Kong? Hong Kong is an international city. We have the Sino-British Joint Declaration in 1984 to lay down the foundation for Hong Kong as to not to be like the system in China. But now they are trying to impose the system on China, especially the subversion clause and the foreign intervention clause on Hong Kong. It would be destroying one country, two system completely to become one country, one system. We have free trade union in Hong Kong. We don't want to be like every union in Hong Kong must be the state union. Then we are finished. And no democracy, no freedom, we are finished. And therefore, international solidarity is very important because China listens only to power in a way. They don't listen to the people of Hong Kong. They listen to international diplomacy. Though sometimes we're worried that international solidarity, diplomacy, sometimes the government will sort of, hypocritical, say one thing to the people in their country, but say another thing to China. And maybe they say, oh, well, yeah, we condemn your act in Hong Kong, but we want to sign a trade agreement. We are worried about that. I think the union movement is there to be together with us to make sure all governments stand firm on values, especially the value of democracy and freedom. So we look forward to more solidarity with union all over the world. And I thank the ILO Congress for making the statement, which we have already distributed among our members, saying that we get the support from ILO Congress. And also the trial that I was just in Monday, the Swedish consulate had representative there in the trial. This sort of solidarity is very important so that China know that the world is watching. And that's the only, apart from the, resistance or democracy movement in Hong Kong and the international support is something that can deter China, I think.
You're raising a very important point on this with international solidarity being labeled as foreign intervention by these kind of authoritarian leaderships. And we see it also, of course, in other parts of the world, but it is a technique that has been used also by the Chinese regime. You said earlier that you have the extradition bill and you had a lot of protests against this. Parts of it was also withdrawal, but China has now reacted with anger, putting in place the national security law to sort of, show who is has the decision here, that the possibility to make even harsher restrictions when it comes to democracy and freedom of assembly, etc. in Hong Kong. Would you say that this is also a reaction to the fact that they have felt the critique and the limited possibility of actually getting its own will with the Hong Kong government?
I think this is a revenge, a retaliation on the part of the Communist Party, because they feel that they lose face. They cannot control Hong Kong. The Hong Kong government is a puppet government that also cannot really selling out Hong Kong and only siding with the Communist Party. And so I think they are very feel in a way threatened by the Hong Kong people protesting on the street and then trying to change Hong Kong, trying to fight for democracy in Hong Kong. Because if we are successful in fighting for democracy in Hong Kong, in a way it would have an impact on the Chinese people, which we hope we can. We hope that there are free trade in China. We hope that there are democracy and freedom in China. This had also been a platform of HKCTU that we also support labor rights inside China, that they should also have the freedom of association and the right to collective bargaining and right to freedom and democracy. So this I've always, and I don't think Chinese government like that. I mean, they really don't want Hong Kong to be successful in our democratic movement and our achieving the aim of democracy, because it would have an impact on China. But I hope also at the same time, those things seems to be getting worse and worse. I would also report to you all that actually now the union movement have also developed a new strategy. We have a new union movement now in Hong Kong. The HKCTU is, of course, working together with a lot of workers that are now suddenly, because of a protest movement, want to join a union and want to form a union and want to develop a power base for the union. And this is what the reason why is because when you go to protest, you are beaten by the police. And when you go to election, the electoral system in Hong Kong is very unfair. So what else can you do? And then the workers begin to say, oh, we have gone on political strike during August. And they think that, oh, maybe that's the way out. That workers in Hong Kong can go on strike. You don't need to go on the street to be beaten by the police, but you use your economic power to go on strike. So now there's a new wave of union movement. And CTU, of course, is working very closely together with them so that there can be possibility of forming a union to go on political strike. But we tell them also that, it's not easy just to go on political strike, just that. Union had also to have a workplace struggle. And if you can, especially when you have the coronavirus, there are lots of unemployment and lots of problems, unfair treatment of workers in the workplace. So we have to combine the two together. Political struggle and workplace struggle, combine the two together, and then we can be more powerful. So in a way, when we face up to the future, we hope that we can have a stronger base of the union movement in Hong Kong to face up the future, which will be very difficult in the future when the national security law really come in, which will be very soon in July.
So in a way, you see now that positive winds are blowing, that people start to unionize, they want to take joint action, and they organize in trade unions, both for the political struggle, but of course also for the struggle for workers' rights and workers' conditions. And this is, of course, something that, the Swedish trade union movement in various ways support and work with. And from your perspective, Eva, you said earlier that, you had made a very conscious decision supporting only Hong Kong CTU and not engaging with the ACFTU, which is then the trade union set up by the Communist Party in China. Do you think that there's been a naivety and that we've been naive, believing that we could also change ACFTU and that we could also support more of a democratization within the union movement within China?
Yes, I think I've already said that. Maybe it's not in the union, these naive thoughts exist. I think the people in Hong Kong cannot stand up to the Beijing regime by themselves, and only empty statements make no use at all. I think maybe it's necessary for the international community to take economic action against China. We can see China's interests are found in large parts of the world today, especially during Corona pandemic. It has become obvious that we depend on China on many levels, and it's worrying. I know there is an ongoing work in the Swedish governmental work on a law putting restrictions to hostile takeovers from China. And I think that's a good thing. So, yes, I think maybe we need to stop being naive.
I should also remind our viewers that you you're welcome to post questions in the chat, and I will also make sure to have a look at it and post the questions also to Eva and Jan. So Jan, once again, what kind of support can be provided from international community, from the global and also for Swedish trade union movement to support you in this very, very dire situation?
Yeah, I think Eva had mentioned that the importance of economic power of the world. Of course, China is a very big economic power, but I think it's very, to me actually, I was quite feel that it's quite reckless for GDP to impose national security law on Hong Kong, sacrificing actually the Chinese people, because you are engaging with the world and suddenly you want to isolate yourself from the world and losing trade. When you are in China themselves, they are suffering from economic downturn now, and which is not the case in the past. So the Chinese workers are suffering, and when the Chinese workers are suffering, you are not working to improve their workers. The wages and their condition. And recently, the Lee Cheuk-yan, the Chinese premier, had mentioned that actually 600 million Chinese earn less than 1,000 yuan. And when he mentioned that, suddenly, it was erased from the media. So actually, the reality in China is very bad. But they don't face up to the reality of China. They impose on Hong Kong the national security law and have a big reaction from the world. And there will be, of course, an economic problem from China, because Hong Kong is very useful for China in terms of, getting the Hong Kong dollar exchangeable in the world, not the renminbi, and our financial center actually supporting China economy. So now they are destroying Hong Kong. They are also destroying the finance center that helped the economy in China. So what I'm trying to say is that economic dues speak, I believe, to Chinese Communist Party, to Xi Jinping, but he must feel the hit. He must feel the pressure, economic. But also, I think it's very important to have a global diplomatic coalition, and especially Swedish position in the EU is very important, because we know that tomorrow. EU will have a resolution, which we feel that is very supportive of Hong Kong, is that to consider suing China in the economic international court of justice for breaching the Sino-British joint declaration back in 1984, which is the basis of everything in Hong Kong, 1988. And so it would be very good if there can be really action on the part of EU. And I think Swedish government had always taken a very strong position in support of Hong Kong, and I think the Swedish union movement, the civil society, in solidarity with Hong Kong, have been very helpful in pushing the government to do more. And I think diplomatic coalition on the part of EU and America and other part of the world, the country that share the same value of democracy and freedom, should line up together and to put pressure on China in a united multilateral way. And I think that is a Swedish government can push EU in that direction, so that there can be a united effort on the part of the world. And also we are calling upon the Swedish Democratic Party to join an interparliamentary alliance on China, which is a lot of the countries have joined. There are some Swedish MP that have joined, but we hope that there can be more party, MP from different parties to join that interparliamentary alliance on China.
There's been a little bit of a critique, or some saying that the international community has been far too silent. Also, maybe depending on the fact that we are, as all of us in various ways, countries and other parts of the international community, we are too dependent upon China, and thereby been silenced or a bit afraid of criticizing China. Do you find this argument true, or do you think that we are sort of brave enough to take a clear stand?
Yeah, I think that's the worrying part, that, every time I hear government talking about the Chinese government, they always say that, you should not impose the law on Hong Kong, but I want to keep a good bilateral relationship with China. So this is sort of a double wording. On one hand, you seem to be on our side, but on the other hand, actually, you said that, I would want to have a good relationship with China. Of course, we do not oppose good relationship with China if China go on the direction of democracy and sharing the same value of the world. But no, they are going on the opposite direction of authoritarian rule. And so I think, of course, on the short term, government and business may think, we need to do business in China so that we can continue our profit. But in the long run, I think people have to ask yourself, do you want the China model of authoritarian rule? And if not, then you have to stand firm in the short term also, and not sacrificing the value of the world just for a very short term, maybe business interest. But I think people have to balance and also put the values before the profit, so that everyone can stand firm on China. And the coronavirus also show that if you are too dependent on an authoritarian regime, then you have consequences. Do you want that to happen again? What's the historical lesson during this coronavirus? And so all this had to be asked, and then come to a sensible solution that we should stand on the side of freedom of democracy.
Do you agree, Eva? Do you also feel that there is a certain, to a certain extent, a double standard here? You both criticize, but at the same time, you're so very eager to maintain good relations that you silence yourself from the international community.
Yes, I agree on that. The last British governor of Hong Kong, Lord Palmecentrets, leads a call for breach of contract against China in support of one country, two systems. Too few of the Swedish MPs and MIPs have signed, and this week we are working to get more social democrats to sign. So if any of you see this, sign.
That's a good urge. Sign the initiative taken, and that has been signed by many MPs all over the world. But we also need more Swedish signatures. Jan, lastly, may I turn back to you? You also previously mentioned the fact that you are yourself on trial, accused in relation to several of the demonstrations that you have also been part of. What is the situation now? You had a hearing yesterday. The trial will continue. You're released during this trial is ongoing. What are your fears and hopes for the future?
I'm on bail now, so then the whole legal process has to go on for some time. And since I have 7 charges in 4 incidents, so I don't think I can get away from jail. So I expect a jail sentence, to be honest. I think because the law is very easily twisted. They said that they have banned all assembly, banned all marches in Hong Kong. No one should go out to march, and we go out because we believe our constitutional right. But I don't think our constitutional right will be respected by the Hong Kong government, and so I don't think we may not, in a way, to get justice from the legal system on this round, because the government is really very keen to make a case of us, so that to tell the people of Hong Kong that see, they all, anyone, no matter how famous or how many years they serve in Hong Kong Legislative Council or the union movement, they will still be jailed. So, but I'm more worried about my future, in the sense that this case is only about exercising my right to assembly and marching. But the future, the national security law coming in, is about my right to free speech. If I say something that Chinese Communist Party don't like, they can say that you are subversion. Because subversion in China is actually like Liu Xiaobo, the famous Nobel Peace Prize winner. He advocated for democracy and he was jailed for 11 years. This is the sort of regime we are facing. Free speech are not allowed. You cannot say what you think is right for the people of Hong Kong, and you may be jailed for national security. Or my speaking to foreign government or union or NGOs and civil society, is there foreign intervention? So what worries me is not this round of jail. I have to face it. But how about the next round? When the national security law come in, then it would be far harsher, because that law is made in China and defined by China. And there are some threat even to say that in very, very special case, the Chinese Communist Party spokesperson just 2 days ago said, in very special case, you guys should be trial in China. And that will be really, really, I don't know, I cannot imagine the pain and suffering that anyone having go through if the trial happened in China.
The national security law would mean the end for one country, two systems, but it would also be the end of democracy and freedom of expression in Hong Kong. And the struggle, of course, continues to save freedom for Hong Kong, and we all stand behind you in this struggle. You are very brave, and you must convey also our greetings to your fellow trade unionists and also other parts of the democratic movement in Hong Kong. We all stand behind you in the struggle for freedom for Hong Kong. With this, I would like to thank both Jan and Eva for being with us today to discuss this very pressing issue. Democracy is really at stake here now, and it's up to all of us to make our best to also protest and to support the democratic movement of Hong Kong. So thank you to all, and this was it for Studio Solidaritet today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.